Hi there, this is James Swanwick, and you're listening to the Alcohol Free Lifestyle Podcast, where you learn how to take back control over alcohol and live a life of health, wealth, love, and happiness.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Victoria English. I'm the head coach here at Alcohol Free Lifestyle. I'm recording today from Maui, and I just had a conversation that sparked such an idea that I had to open my recording software, turn on my mic, and create an episode for you guys. Today, we are going to talk about how eliminating alcohol can enhance both your personal and professional life. This topic was inspired by a conversation I just had with a member. And I'm going to take you through the scenario. And I'm curious if it resonates with you. I'll then tell you about the science behind what transpired and what happened. So we have members in Project 90, and we have one in particular who was experiencing a moment of crisis that was so intense that he in fact reached out to our team at Alcohol Free Lifestyle. I spoke with this member, and when he answered the phone, he sounded very stressed, very anxious. This person is 85 days into the program and has been a wonderful member, very active, very engaged, very committed to this process. And so at 85 days, he was having a moment of crisis, and alcohol in the past would have been his default. He shared with me that he is experiencing what he perceives, and I think we can all understand this, what he perceives as an exercise in futility. He is dealing with something we all love to deal with. He is dealing with bureaucracy. And if you've ever had to deal with this sort of stuff, which we all have, whether it's the DMV or something bigger, the court system, you all can understand the feeling of banging your head against a wall and how frustrating that can be. Now, if you are a person who has struggled with alcohol, it makes sense that those sorts of things may be triggering. Those sorts of things may bring up feelings or beliefs that you need a drink. So let's talk about that for a moment. 85 days in, why in the world would this person think about drinking? If you've heard our podcasts about how addiction is formed, you've learned that, and if you haven't learned it, that's okay. We dive very deeply into this in Project 90. But in a nutshell, when we drink alcohol, especially under certain circumstances, such as stress, grief, loss, trauma, our brain learns that this is what we do to stay safe. We drink alcohol because it numbs us from experiencing the pain. It is an anesthetic. We are anesthetized. These neural pathways are formed with repetition, and they become quite strong. They're pretty deep. They run deep. And so When these things happen, a stressful event comes up, and this person has committed to an alcohol-free lifestyle. What we learn about in Project 90 is that instead of shaming ourselves if the thought of alcohol comes up, instead of saying, "What is wrong with you, you loser? You're 85 days in. You should have power over this. You should not have a craving." We go the opposite way, because those old thoughts and beliefs kept getting us drunk, didn't they? Maybe you're in a situation where you're trying to stop and you keep going back to it. And that sort of language about yourself to yourself is coming up. You're not a loser. The brain has learned this behavior. The brain will not unlearn this behavior. Those neural pathways, actually, someone asked me the other day, so are we repairing those neural pathways that have formed this addiction, this dependence, this habit? I said, no. You're not changing the neural pathways. You're building new ones. And I'll talk more about that in a second. And so this member in the past would have experienced these feelings of frustration, futility, lack of worth, right? Nobody likes it when they are not seen and heard. And he would have gone to pick up a drink. Why didn't he? Well, lots of reasons. He's got a community around him. He has coaches. He has connection, and he has accountability. Meaning, if he were to drink, he would need to talk about it and go through it with the group. And there's no shame in that, but it's not pleasant. Because when you join Project 90, I'll say to you, or one of the other coaches will say to you, your brain will tell you that you need a drink. You don't. You need something, but it's not a drink. And so this gentleman has been with us long enough that he has practiced for the event that occurred today. He came into the community, he made friends, he became vulnerable, he opened up, he shared, he's let them in a little bit to his life. And so he has begun the building. He has laid the foundation, not to repair the addiction pathways, but to build new ones. And so, isn't that the most empowering thing? Now, what's happened in his brain? Well, when you are in the cycle of drinking, your actions are very much driven by your amygdala. That is the fight or flight part of the brain. And so, if you've ever experienced that if you've ever, pardon me, Maui brain. If you've ever been going through your day, experienced triggers, and the next thing you know, you're 3 drinks in, it's the amygdala. Because your brain gets hit with these triggers. Uh-oh, danger, time to drink. And the amygdala goes into overdrive. And before you know it, you're there and you're drinking and you're like, how did I even get here? What happened? I'm just sitting here drinking. Whew. Yes, I remember those days. That's where the member was when he came into the program. Flash forward 85 days. The science of addiction shows that within this time frame, our brain begins to heal. And so this person's brain has begun to heal, meaning his prefrontal cortex, the intelligent, the critical thinking, executive function, think of it as the angel on your shoulder part of your brain, the one that leads you in the right direction. Well, that part of the brain is being rebuilt because drinking literally shrinks the gray and white matter in our brain. Literally shrinks it. You lose prefrontal cortex volume from drinking. So let's play this out. He was extremely triggered. And those learned behaviors, I'm in trouble, I'm in danger, time to drink. His prefrontal cortex said, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's practice the pause. Let's step back for a second. And that makes all the difference. Because instead of going to a drink, his prefrontal cortex said, you have other stuff. You have other tools. What's available to you right now? And he chose to reach out. He is also going to post about this experience in the Marco Polo group and in the forum, which is another community platform that we have. And so instead of getting drunk and depleting his energy, ruining his sleep, and waking up stuck in the amygdala again, because that's what happens when we drink continuously over time. We are very amygdala driven. He made a different choice. Now, how will that translate into his professional life? Well, let's see. If he got drunk today, what are the chances that he may send out an email expressing, probably not in the most tactful way, his frustration about what's going on with work? Have you ever done that? Sent out an email that you wish you hadn't? What are the odds that he's going to actually think through things and come up with other possible solutions if he's drinking? You see, he needs that prefrontal cortex. We all need that prefrontal cortex to problem solve, to strategize, to help us think things through, to move us out of reaction and into response. Additionally, when he works tomorrow, he will be so much more equipped. He will not be snappy. He will not be irritable. He will not be anxious. He won't have a racing heart, sour stomach, headache clouding him as he moves through this difficult situation with work. There is no carpe diem after a night of drinking. There simply is not. And how is that impacting your professional performance? Now, at Alcohol Free Lifestyle, we work with a niche. We work with a niche population, high-performing individuals, people who get things done, even though they are still struggling. They're struggling with alcohol. They're really, really either questioning their relationship with alcohol or they are just frustrated and nothing else has worked and they just don't know what to do. So this gentleman, like you guys, if you're listening to this, he looks like he had it all together. And that kept him from getting the help he needed for a long time. We're familiar with that. We all lived it, all the coaches, every single one of us. I'm doing fine. Look at what I've achieved. Look at this, look at that. But deep down we know. And so think about how this will play out over time, right? This gentleman is not driven by his amygdala, fight or flight, right? So either go after someone and be out of integrity and be frantic and anxious, or flight, just drink and keep avoiding the issue. He's restoring his brain function. He also has learned how to share, how to share, how to say, man, I had a crappy day, and receive support. And yeah, man, I get it. Me too. Or I had one of those recently, and this is what helped. Pretty cool. And so, what about his personal life? Well, the same thing applies. In fact, this is why I was so inspired to talk about this topic. He has an event with a family member who drinks a lot later tonight. At first, he said, I think I just shouldn't go. But he thought through it and he said, no, I think what I'll do is I'll post with the group and let them know I'm going into a challenging situation and that I was triggered today, and I'm going to post there so I get some encouragement. And then after I'm done with the event, I'm going to post again, because there's no way that I'll drink with that connection. And people know if I allow myself to be seen and be vulnerable, there's no way I'm going to drink. And so I don't know a lot of things for sure in this life, but I do know one thing. This guy is not going to drink today. He's not. And tomorrow, he's going to wake up feeling refreshed somewhat, right? Still stressed about this work thing, but a little less. Now, the family thing, he's got this support. He's feeling a little heavy anyway. He's going into this situation. There's some interpersonal angst, and this person's relative drinks quite a bit and can get a bit mouthy. How does this improved brain function serve him? Well, he's allowed to have boundaries. He's allowed to exit if things get messy in a gracious way, instead of it ending like it used to in an argument and someone stomping out. He's able to articulate his words. He is able to choose how his part of this engagement happens. Once we start drinking, we lose the option. We lose the choice. We let alcohol decide how our personal interactions are going to go. We've all been there. And it doesn't end well. And he's had enough of that. And so, this relative will do what they're going to do. He's not responsible for them. He is responsible for himself. And now that he has done this work and his brain has healed, he can stay in integrity and be true to himself. What's that going to feel like in the morning? No shame about his behavior. No regrets. No wondering what he said. How did the night end? I think it ended badly. None of that. So a question for you guys: how much brain space would open up for you in your professional and personal life without alcohol? What would it be like to experience the stressors with a clear head, with a high functioning prefrontal cortex, instead of being driven by the fight or flight? Just picture it for a moment. What would your professional relationships look like? Imagine a problem at work and people come to you. Imagine not snapping at them, but instead being able to take a deep breath and think it through and collaborate and problem solve. How about in your personal life? What would it be like to allow yourself to experience some of the emotions that we have been trying to escape from, but seem to get exacerbated and blown up because of our drinking, what would it feel like to sit with those feelings, to go through those situations with coaches and with friends, your community, people who are going through the exact same kind of stuff? How might that pay off in your future? How might that pay off for your children? What would it be like to model that sort of behavior for your family? The invitation is here. This is what we do at Project 90, at Alcohol Free Lifestyle. This is the magic that happens. You always get that invitation to book a free discovery call, and I invite you to do so. Do it now. If you resonate with any of this, if you see yourself in that member, that brave, outstanding member, who, by the way, is also continuing into Beyond 90 with us, so I get to work with him for 9 more months, and we get to celebrate him next week as he graduates. If you resonated with any of his story, then what are you waiting for? Anyone who joins us is in pain. I was there. I was in pain. And I did it anyway, because I realized that with drinking, there was no hope. There's no hope that anything was going to get better. And if I looked at the track record, the data from the past, it was only going to get worse. So I did it anyway, because an alcohol-free life isn't always easy, but it's worth it. It's pain with a purpose, sitting with the discomfort and moving through it. What might be on the other side? Take it from me. Things you never dreamed could be possible are there for you. So book that discovery call. You'll speak with one of our incredible coaches, and hopefully I'll see you on a coaching call real soon. Until next time, take good care and have an awesome day.